about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So have you ever had to train your replacement at work? Well, a lot of us are doing it right now, and it's frightening. So a lot of us, I'm seeing this in medicine, many people are seeing it in their respective industries. They are being asked to work with AI and allow AI to learn on the job. And we know very darn well that this AI software or platform is being trained so that they could replace humans. What do you do? So interestingly, a new global survey of 3,750 executives being reported by Fortune magazine across 14 countries. They conducted, this was a survey conducted by SAP subsidiary WalkMe for its 5th annual State of Digital Adoption report. And they found that 54% of workers are bypassing their company's AI tools and have bypassed it in the last month, saying, you know what, I won't use AI for this. I'm just going to do the work manually and old school. Another 33% admitted they aren't using it at all. Combined, roughly 8 in 10 enterprise workers are either avoiding or actively rejecting the technology their employers are spending record sums to deploy. They say the average digital transformation budgets rose 38% year over year to $54.2 million, yet 40% of that has been underperforming due to adoption failures. If somebody doesn't want to use the software, they don't want to use it. Now, interestingly, in medicine, telemedicine, I've been asked to use the software. It will give a suggested, it'll look at my note, listen to the conversation, and recreate the note. Sometimes it does an amazing job, and sometimes it doesn't. And I found myself not having time to read through the whole dictation. And it's not a dictation, it almost is a re-summary. And I'm like, I don't have time to read this and to make sure it's accurate. What I said and what I typed is what I want. And so I even noticed that I was like, okay, that's nice, but I'm not using it all the time. I've also noticed that sometimes the suggested diagnosis is not the diagnosis I would agree with. Would not be the diagnosis I would write. And so, I know people are looking at, wow, gosh, if you could use AI and you could make your job easier, why don't you? Well, the problem is, and it's not that I'm afraid of training it. AI, whether I help train AI or not, AI is taking over. AI is coming for my job. That just, might not come for my radio job, but it'll definitely come for my medicine job. I already know that's going to happen. But my issue is it's almost extra work for me to go and do the AI. I don't want extra work. I have done medicine and done a very good job and have not missed any of my patient diagnoses or caused any of them to die or have any malpractice cases because of the way I was trained and my work ethic and how I do things. And now you want me to introduce another variable, another element. Now, if it wants to agree with me, it can, but do I really give a damn what a computer thinks? I'm not being narcissistic, but how I was trained, I told you when we were in the ER, I had a patient with appendicitis, so I was ordering a CAT scan, and the attending yelled at me. Why are you ordering a CAT scan? Because the other attending last night yelled at me for not ordering it quick enough because the person had appendicitis. So I don't want to get yelled at again, so I'm ordering the CAT scan. No, you need to diagnose without a CAT scan. And I think it's appendicitis. No, but you wanted to use a CAT scan to diagnose the patient. I go, I'm doing the CAT scan because the other doctor yelled at me and because there's liability. If you don't order the CAT scan, you get sued. But we were trained to only use the test as a validator for confirmation. That if you think the person has a tumor, if you think that person has ascending cholangitis, if you think that person has hepatitis, if you think that person has cholecystitis or choledocholithiasis or a pancreatitis, your diagnosis should already be 95% there. Then when you order the scan and the imaging, it confirms. Well, now you're doing the doctor survey or the medical provider survey, you're doing the imaging, and now you also have to have AI on top of it. Now, some people might like that. But what's going to happen is that AI is going to get rid of the doctor. They say only 9% of workers trust AI for complex business critical decisions compared to 61% of executives. Now, that's an interesting statistic. And you know why that statistic is there? Is because what if the AI is wrong? Who gets fired? You do. What if the AI is wrong with my patient? Who gets sued and loses their medical license? I do. You think I'm going to trust a computer? Now, I know the younger generation might be more trusting, but me as an adult, computers were, okay, they're cool. And yeah, I like calculators, but remember we used to get yelled at in school? If we used a calculator, we had to do the math on our own. They wanted to make sure we knew how to do math on our own. 88% of executives say their employees have adequate tools. Only 21% of workers agree. That's a big gap from what the employee to the employer thinks. And I think a lot of employees are like, I don't want to use AI, and I don't want AI doing this job. It's interesting. We really do have a bucking of this AI trend and tsunami that's coming. Some people love it. When I was in my CCW class, there was somebody just talking about ChatGPT and how amazing it is. Yeah, it is amazing to help you with your homework. It was a young guy. But for me, I don't want AI doing my homework. I want to have to do my homework myself so I learn it. I mean, we're not using the part of the brain that we used to use. This is something I'm very fearful of this. And I am being very, shall we say, hesitant. On top of that, knowing it's going to make us lose our jobs, you're going to see employers start to mandate employees, and I'm seeing that right now, even in medicine. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
And we're back on the Dr. Dolly Show, 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So I keep hearing, I remember hearing this in my family. Hey, Dad, you're going to be the death of me. As he would tell my mom. And sadly, he died while in a conversation with her, had a heart attack at home. I don't think it was because of my mom. The men in my family don't live long, and the men joke it's because of the women. But I've always said, and we've always found in studies, that married men live longer than unmarried men. And I know a lot of you are like, jaw-dropping with that one, going, no way. No way. The stress, the cortisol spikes, the blood pressure spikes, the in-laws. You're telling me that a bachelor, a single man, has shorter longevity in his life and more health risks? Yeah, I am. The studies keep showing that. And you could say, well, Dahlia, the studies are all about, politics. They're trying to get people to get married. Not these days, no. No, politics are more about, do your own thing, don't commit, we aren't really in a very pro-marriage, pro-religious society these days. So these are studies showing that married people seem to live longer. Well, we got another study now looking at marriage and cancer risk. Study published Wednesday in the journal Cancer Research Communications suggests that, according to CNN, holy matrimony may be linked to a lower risk of cancer. Among never married men, cancer rates are 68% higher than those who have been married. A group that includes those who have been divorced or widowed. The incidence is even higher, 83%, for women who have never married. So according to Dr. Brad Wilcox, when it comes to getting cancer, put a ring on it. May offer more protection, especially to women. So research on marriage generally suggests that men stand to benefit more than women in heterosexual relationships, but the study suggests the opposite. The study authors say that the finding probably has multiple causes. Maybe because of women with endometrial or ovarian cancer. Maybe it's because if you give birth, it's protective against endometrial and ovarian cancer. Also, if you breastfeed, that's protective against breast cancer. So it could be that. But what about the men? All right? Why is it safer and healthier for you? Well, when my husband was living alone, he ate like crap. He did whatever. Didn't really drink or smoke. So we didn't have that. But didn't go to the gym. He and I started dating. We got married. I'm like, we're working out. Let's go. Let's walk the dogs. Let's do this. No, we're not going to eat that. That's too much red meat. Eat some fish. Yes, dear. Really? And I could see him roll his eyes. But I got that man to eat more fish. Got him to exercise more. That's healthier. Now, I'm not saying it's the nag. But, it could be, that people who are bachelors, long-term bachelors, maybe they're more stressed than we think. Now, having most of my friends guys and married guys, they're stressed. They're stressed about the wife, the kids, the in-laws, the chores they have to do. I don't have a lot of single men friends. My husband probably wouldn't want me to be hanging out with single men, but he's okay with me hanging out with my friends that I went to school with and guys that were, that are a part of couples, etc. But maybe single men have more stress than we think. Maybe subconsciously the being alone doesn't help. Now you're thinking, gosh, they get less stress, they get less, maybe that's not it. Maybe they don't sleep as well. Maybe somebody's not in the bed next to them going, you stopped breathing. And I recognized my husband's sleep apnea way before he did. I'm like, you need a sleep study. You need to get that checked out. Now, you would think somebody they're dating would tell them. But if that person falls asleep deeper than they do, they may never get told. The other thing too is like for me, I want my husband to outlive me. He doesn't. He says he doesn't want, he wants to go first. But I want to go first. Because I don't want to live without him. I don't want to imagine that. And he'll have a much easier time remarrying and finding somebody than I would. Because he's a dude. He's got muscle. He's cute. He'll find somebody. I wouldn't. But I'm on top of that. I'm like, did you get that mole checked? What's going on there? I don't like that. I'm hearing, and so I'm on top of him. There's more reminders. When somebody lives alone, who's looking at their back and seeing if there could be a melanoma? Who's noticing they keep hitting the Tums? Who's noticing this? These are things that need to be, I guess, taken into account. Also, what might be happening is if you do have this role where you have to take care of a wife and kids, you're now thinking, maybe I'm not going to hit that cigarette. Maybe I'm going to drink a little less. Maybe I'm going to get that cancer screen. It's interesting. I didn't take care of myself that much. I mean, I exercised and I ate fairly well, but I wasn't doing cancer screens and things like that until I had my kids. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. I need to be on this earth for my babies. In fact, I was taking flying lessons because my husband knew how to fly. So I was taking flying lessons. And I'm up in the sky and I'm looking down at the ground. And I'm looking down, right, at the earth. And even though I wasn't flying that high, and I'm like, my babies are down there. What am I doing? I'm going to get back down. Let's land. I got to pee. And I didn't want to take any more flying lessons. Also, they were expensive. But I'm like, my job is to be there for my babies. And so maybe subconsciously people think that. It's like, you know what? I will take care of myself. Now, I do have a lot of married men friends, and they smoke. They hit their cigars. They drink. And I'm like, come on, man. But also I noticed that because they're older, when my friends were younger, they were more careful with their bodies because of their kids. Now that their kids are older, they're like, all right, I'm good. So in this study, for older results, the observational study said that the effect of marriage accumulates over time. So the longer you were married, the better it was for you. Black men appeared to benefit most from marriage. Dr. Jared A. Carroll, a geriatrician who sees patients at Kaiser Permanente in Southern California, said the finding speaks to the power of the Black woman. He said they provide support as they encourage a Black man to seek earlier treatment and evaluation. Dr. Carroll said as a result of the Black woman being like the hub of support for the entire family, I think it speaks to how they are intrinsically invested in the care of their spouse. So, marriage, we are seeing lower rates of lung, cervical cancer. Now, maybe that's also because of promiscuity. Right? If I'm married, I'm not going to be, dating and having sex with other men. So I'm going to have less of an opportunity to get HPV. And that virus can cause cervical cancer. Same thing with men. They're going to be less likely to get HPV. When you have one spouse, as long as you're not cheating on them, now you're less exposed to these viruses that could cause rectal cancer, throat cancer. So I think there's a lot of reasons for this. I'm not that surprised. Unfortunately, they speak of a patient named Del Fattore, who was diagnosed with stage 4 gallbladder cancer 15 years ago, unmarried. And they say that she wasn't offered the same level of care a married person would have received. So some people fear that because you don't have that social support, even if the doctor may care for you, who's taking care of you at home? Now, I'm not saying go and get hitched. I'm not saying go and try to find somebody, get married and all that. But for those of you avoiding marriage because you think it's going to hurt you, studies like this, there's a lot of them. This is not, I mean, for me, I always saw single people with cancer struggle more than if you were married. Having that support system is amazing. Having that love. Knowing that there's people who love you and care for you is so important. And if you're single and you love your single life, I think that's fantastic. But if you're like, well, I just don't want to commit, you got to think about your health. And honestly, having kids is great. And then I already told my kids, you're going to have to help me. If I need your help, I need your help. I don't want to be a burden on you guys. But one of the reasons why I had you is so you could help take care of me later. Sorry. And I hated that when my parents did that, and I joke with them. But there's some truth to it. I don't want to be, if I'm alone and a stranger has to take care of me, that's not as good as your loved one being there to help take care of. So get yourself checked out. Consider hooking up. Well, not hooking up, but 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
In many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We're back on the Dr. W show. So I have a little issue with our plumbing. And I want to talk about it because I found psychologically that to be very, very interesting. I've lived in apartments and people's houses where things broke down all the time. But this hit us a little harder. And it was a plumbing issue. So my husband was saying, I heard something from the toilet. I go, what'd you hear? He said, I heard a bubble from the toilet. And I go, well, maybe you need more fiber. He goes, no. I didn't potty. I'm just sitting there working. He has this office. It's a guest room that he made into an office. And he uses the bathroom. And I don't like that bathroom because he doesn't, he uses it. And I kind of need, I share a bathroom with him, in our room. But I don't really use that bathroom. So I never go in it. And he said, the toilet was just starting to make noise. I go, well, that's odd. I'm not doing anything except I was running some laundry. We usually run the laundry at night because in Southern Nevada, I forget when they asked us to do that for power conservation. But I think I just got into the habit of just doing laundry at night because they asked us to do that. So the only thing that was going on was the washer. And it went through the draining cycle. And then all of a sudden I hear him cuss. And apparently water was coming in through the shower. And it was starting to rise. Now, thank God we avoided any major flooding. But he's like, shut it down. And I'm like, but I have to wash my hair. And he goes, don't. And I'm like, but nothing is on. And now the washer was in the spin cycle. I go, there's nothing going on. So we assume there was some sort of clog. Now, our home is not an old home. We actually moved into our home years ago, like about maybe 10, 11 years ago. And it was a home that got built. In Southern Nevada, you sometimes have that opportunity where you could build a new home, which is nice, and you get a home warranty, although most of them only last about 10 years. And then you could get an extended warranty. So because I think we're over the 10-year mark, we called the extended warranty. We got a hold of somebody and they said, we'll get a plumber out to you. And when that home warranty person emailed us and we got the claim opened, it wasn't going to happen until April 13th. Now I need our toilets working. We shut off the water. We can't shower. We can't not shower. We can't not potty till April 13th. Now, when I was younger, I would just go over to a friend's house or I would crash at my friend's house. Well, you can't do that when you have cats and dogs. So I immediately look at their water dish. Well, I usually replace their water dishes at night. So now I start to panic. I'm like, well, they need water. So there was still, even if you shut off your water, there was still that little bit of pipe. So I immediately filled up the water dishes. And then I decided to go to Facebook because Facebook always will clarify things for me. Like whenever I had when I had that scorpion, what do I do? And it's very interesting to see people's, input. So I needed to wash my hair last night, right? So I'm starting to panic a little bit. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to wash my hair. I don't wash my hair every day. I wash it every other day because my scalp would dry out. So my hairdresser said, don't do it every day. Do it every other day or every third day. So I'm like, I got to wash my hair. So I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe what I'll do, because I need warm water. I don't want to get hypothermic in cold water. We have a very small pool and jacuzzi. So I'll heat up the jacuzzi and I'll wash my hair in the jacuzzi. So I ask on Facebook, I go, will soap, conditioner, and detangling solution hurt my jacuzzi? So somebody said, just take the water out of the jacuzzi and bring it to the sink. And I was like, oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. And then I'm like, well, I got to brush my teeth. What do I do? So I grabbed ice from the freezer, and then I put it in a bowl. I let the ice start to melt. So at least I had water, potable water that we could use because we can't now drink out of the sink. And so you start to kind of play. And I was kind of shocked how unprepared we were for this. Then, and knowing that we couldn't get this fixed for a while. So my husband said, well, to hell with the home warranty. Let's just hire somebody. And I'm like, fine with that. So somebody comes to our house last night. Very grateful. Somebody could come to our house. And my husband asked, how much would this cost to fix our plumbing? And the guy said, about $4,500. Are you kidding me? Now, I knew plumbers make bank. But really? So we're like, you know what? With that kind of money, we could stay in a hotel that takes pets. We'll be fine. Luckily, a second plumber came to the house. That second plumber came to the house, found the clog in the main, unclogged it, and we were good. Only charged us $65. We tipped him $45. We paid over $100 because we wanted to tip him good. He was happy. He was really happy. And we got our toilets working again. But my husband said you could even rent a snake to snake in there. Now, I don't know what happened. I don't know if somebody used their toilet and clogged it with something. I don't know. I mean, it really is 10 years, the lifespan of your plumbing. I heard that sometimes your landscaping can invade your plumbing, but they don't think it was that. There was some sort of a clog in there. So he was able to declog it and everything good. I almost wonder if you should be having plumbing checkups. Unfortunately, I had already gone through the whole hot tub thing to get my hair done. So I spent about an hour trying to wash my hair using hot tub water. And it worked out good. My hair looks really, really good. The chlorine, I think, kind of helped a little bit. So but, you know, it's interesting how you lose power or you lose plumbing and you start to panic. Yeah, and what if you don't have money to go and get a place that could be kid-friendly and dog-friendly and all that? Like I said, whenever I had issues with my apartment, or there'd be a fire in the apartment or the dorm, I would just go, and crash whoever I was dating or whatever friends. I would just go and crash at somebody else's, or I'd sleep in my car. When you have a family, it's different, and you really feel a lot more vulnerable. And it wasn't the biggest deal in the world. It was a plumbing issue, but always have plan B and always think about, what happens if my power goes out, or, we're getting ready for hurricane season, and the Gulf states, as well as the Eastern Seaboard, they need to be prepared for some pretty bad storms, even though we think hurricane season is going to be less than average, but still it could be average, not above average because it's an El Nino year, but still, and so are you already planning? Do you have the extra food, water, etc.? I always have extra water. We have extra food. I could also heat water on the stove. I didn't want to use our drinking water in case, we needed to, for washing. I also told the boys to go to the gym, shower there. If they had to poop, go to the gym, even though the gym was about to close. So, just think about, have a plan in place. I mean, this wasn't the worst tragedy. There's bigger tragedies. But I found, you would think in this day and age, I would be, much more, shall we say, prepared. And so for those of you that are wondering about your air conditioning working as we're starting to get hot, maybe check the air conditioning before it's an emergency. Turn on your air conditioning now. You know, do your preparations now if you live in an area where hurricane season hits. I mean, if you live in an area where they're going to do rolling blackouts because of wildfires, like in California, or because of power issues, already start to plan ahead what you're going to do. Store some extra water in case you got to wash some things in a sink. I mean, you know, just be prepared. Have a generator if you can. You know, have a freezer that can maybe keep things colder in case the power goes out and you're worried about the stuff in your fridge. Have non-perishable food items. But just while we're out of winter, which is I love winter, it's my favorite season, but we're out of a lot of those, you know, fearful, shall we say, weather issues, but we're coming up on newer issues. And so, you know, plan ahead, be aware. And, you know, nothing to panic about, but yes. I just like that, I gotta tell you, when your stool softener kicks in and you don't think you have access to a toilet, all right? In fact, you know what I did? I peed outside with the dogs. So I wouldn't use the toilet. I peed outside. The dogs were like, oh, that's where we pee. They didn't like that. But 1-877 Dr. Dolly, don't go away.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So years ago when I was a kid, we were walking through one of these restaurants. I don't think it was Red Lobster, but it was a restaurant, and you saw like the live lobster, and but we didn't order lobster. We couldn't afford it, and we don't really eat lobster in my family. But I remember somebody told me, and I was a kid at the time, that when they cook lobster, they throw the lobster alive. Well, I think because I made a comment as a kid going, they're alive. So that means they have to kill the lobster to eat it. Yeah, I mean, I knew they had to kill our chicken or, the calf or the cow to get our food. But I didn't think that in a restaurant you would see the live animal prior, because you saw like the food server somebody would choose the lobster they wanted to eat, and then the waiter would grab it, and you're like, so now that lobster is going to die. How did they kill the lobster? So I think it might have been the question I had posed. And somebody had responded, I forget who, that, well, they throw it in the boiling pot. I go, alive? And they go, yeah, and you could hear the screaming. The lobster will scream. Okay, so I was terrified by that. And now, no, the lobster doesn't scream, because it doesn't have vocal cords, but the lobster feels it. And so at first I thought they were lying. And then as I grew older, I was like, okay, they really do throw live animals, live crustaceans, cephalopods, octopi, in boiling water. I go, well, they could feel that. I mean, a high school biology could teach you that. And I'm like, they're not going to kill them first? No, that's the way they've always done it. They can't feel it. Yes, they can feel it. In fact, the lobster could be alive for up to 3 minutes in that boiling water before it dies. Now I feel bad. I like lobsters. I like fishies. I like octopus. Although octopi, they could be really rough sons of guns. You got to be really, really careful of an octopus, because it'll crawl out of its aquarium and go to others and eat the fish and crawl back. It doesn't care about going out into the land and part of the world and do what it has to do. They're pretty wily. But when you throw a live seafood into boiling water, they could survive for a long time. So what is the lobster screaming? Lobsters don't have vocal cords. It's supposed to be the steam escaping the shell, and also some of the air, I guess, that's created by the boiling organs. It's not pretty barbaric. And I guess now restaurants in England are being banned from killing lobster and cooking them and other animals, not only crustaceans but cephalopods, and that way. Why did they do that? Why of all the animals did they decide that we're going to just take boiling water and just throw the fish in it or the seafood in it? Well, because apparently, as we've talked about before, many forms of seafood can be poisonous. And so rather than letting it die first and then storing it in the bacteria, they felt that the freshest way to make fresh is to, cook it while it's alive. I think it's barbaric. I think there are better ways to do it. And I guess now in England, there's going to be a change in the UK government now recognizes certain invertebrates as sentient beings. And so in November 2021, lobsters, octopi, and crabs were formally included under the Animal Welfare Sentence Framework, requiring policymakers to consider their welfare in future decisions. Many England ministers, they call them, public officials, have made clear that live boiling is not considered an acceptable killing method, and that guidance will be updated. So I looked up, how do you kill a lobster painlessly? Now, interestingly, the laws of kashrut, because people will ask me, Dr. Dahlia, what is kosher meat? Well, it's more expensive, but why? Well, a rabbi blesses it, but also because they kill the animal as painlessly as possible. Well, how do they do that? So for kosher meat, the cow, rather than sitting there and then being slaughtered, they bring the cow up and let the blood rush. They invert the cow upside down, let the blood rush to his head, and then they cut the jugular. And apparently they found that to be one of the more painless ways to kill cattle. And so there's rules in kashrut and for kosher food that the animal had to have been with the utmost respect and with such responsibility and empathy and appreciation for trying to do it without hurting them, that those processes need to be followed in terms of kosher meat. So, with they're I think they're still going to feel to some degree, but a cutting of the jugular and you being inverted, it's a more painless way for an animal to die. So for lobster, I don't know if I agree with this. They suggest to chill and stun it. According to Google AI, studies have shown, which I disagree with, to place the lobster in the freezer for about 20 minutes to an hour, or an ice saltwater slurry to induce a state of torpor, which numbs the animal and slows its metabolism. So rather than boiling an animal for a few minutes, they want you to freeze it for an hour and it's still alive. I don't know. I mean, I'm no animal rights expert, but that, or biologist, but that does not sound the most painless. The other way they say is you stun the lobster. You can, no, that's after you chill it. Then it's stunned. You mark an X on the top of the head behind the eyes, and then you position a sharp chef's knife at this spot, dive it firmly. Yeah, I don't know if I would freeze a lobster. Why can't you just very quickly hit it in the head? They say the most effective way is ikijime. Am I pronouncing that right? Or spiking. You hold the fish firmly, locate the brain, usually just behind above the eyes, swiftly insert a sharp spike or awl directly into the brain. If done correctly, the fish will convulse briefly and instantly go limp. You could do percussive stunning using a blunt instrument to deliver a single forceful blow to the head just above the eyes, but then there could be bleeding. You need to ensure the fish has died. There's also things that they say you could do where you could put them in water and put an anesthetist. You could put a medication, an anesthesia in the water, where then the fish gets drugged and then, yeah. But they don't want your fish to suffocate in air. So like when you go fishing, it's interesting. When we go fishing, I don't like to see the fish flop around in the air and suffer. I like to immediately, address it so it's painless. And I don't fish anything I won't eat. If not, I'll throw it back. And still, I don't like to have hook damage and other things in the fish. So I'll only fish for something that I know I'm going to eat, like salmon or halibut or something like that. I have to admit, barracuda fishing was fun. But if I'm not going to eat barracuda, then I probably are not going to fish for that again. And I respect animals. I love animals, and they do feel pain. I have to advise patients who have pets to always be aware of their pets being in pain. Their pet is not going to go owie. They're going to be quiet. They're going to become less extroverted. They're going to introvert. They're going to start to kind of hide. That's a sign of pain. For any of you guys that have ever had a lab, we had a yellow lab, and the yellow lab always seemed happy with tail wagging and all that. But Apollo had hip dysplasia, and we really think that the hips were hurting him, and the vet said, yeah, he's in pain. You got to treat the pain. The 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.